Hi and welcome to the screencast where we're going to take a look at Material 2 components for Angular 2. So I recently did a screencast, a first look at the Alpha 1 release, and I got some pretty good feedback from that. So in this screencast we're going to take a look at the Alpha 2 release, and we're going to try to replace Twitter Bootstrap in our ng2 repo with Material 2 components. And before I do that, I want to show you the demo app that the team has built, which is really good help and works as documentation when you try to use these components, because there really aren't any official docs yet, since it's still in very early alpha stages. And I received quite some mails about how to get up and running with a couple of components. So let's take a look at how we can use the demo app that they've built and how to get it up and running on your local machine. So if you come to the Material 2 GitHub repo, you can just simply clone this repo, because under source here we can find that there is a demo app, which is really good documentation on how to use the components. And how to build a demo app is documented in the dev environment MD. And there's just a couple of simple steps here. The important steps here are that you should make sure to install Angular CLI globally, and then of course clone the repo, and then you just simply run npm install and npm run typings to install the TypeScript definition files. And once you've done these 3 steps here, you can run ng build, and once the application is built, you just type ng serve. I think that should be around here somewhere, right there, ng serve, and the application will be up and running. So I have a command prompt here that does this. I already built the entire library, and now I'm simply serving the application. And we can see that we are serving the application at the following URLs. And if we open up the browser, we can see that the demo app is really simple. They really try to narrow it down to each component. So we can see we have a couple of components here, and if you visit each page, these are simply routes that will display the demos in an outlet down here. And we can see how the button components work, what they look like, and we can actually see them in action, which is pretty cool. So you can see the checkboxes here and the input demos. So I'm going to try to use this component today. And we have radio buttons, lists, a side nav demo. I think we're going to try to use this component as well, and a toolbar, which we'll definitely be using. So to see the code for this, you can just simply open up the repo code and navigate to the demo app on the source. So this is the actual source for the library itself. You can check it out here as well. But to see how the demo app uses the components, you just navigate to the demo app, and then you have each component in a subfolder. So we want to see how to use the inputs, for instance. We can take a look at the markup along with its TypeScript file. So this is really good documentation, and it's really everything you need to get up and running with Material 2 components. So let's start to replace Twitter Bootstrap in our ng2play repo. And if you haven't used ng2play repo before, you can just come here and clone it from my GitHub page. And for a moment it uses Twitter Bootstrap, but after this screencast, hopefully you won't be using Bootstrap anymore. We'll be using Material 2 components instead. And you just simply run 2 simple commands to get up and running with my ng2play repo. And once you've done that, you can see that the app is really simple. We have a to-do list here. We can add things with forms. We can sign in. And we have some simple routing here just to demo how that works. So let's start by removing Bootstrap, and let's use the new input field, and let's put this in an MD card as well, so we get some nice some nice cards here to see how that looks, how that will look in our application. And let's also replace the navigation. So let's start with that, and if we have time, we can implement the side nav as well. So if you open up our code here and come to our packages.json file, we're going to want to bump these alpha1 components to alpha2. But we're also going to want to add a couple of new ones here. So let's start with the cards component and the input component and the navbar component, or let's see what it's called once again, toolbar, right? Let's add that to a package.json file. Let's stop serving the application just for a little while and install the new packages. Right, and now we can start serving the application again. But let's go to index.html here and load up our new components. So we're gonna load up card. So there are plenty of ways to load modules. We're not gonna try to refactor this now. We just want to try to remove Bootstrap for now, and then we'll refactor how we load the modules. So let's put an input here, because I'm kind of repeating myself here, as you can see, and the toolbar. Right. And now we simply want to use these components. So if we open up app.html, instead of, let's comment everything out and try to start from the beginning here. So let's start with a navbar. So to figure out how that works, we're gonna come here to the demo app, or the toolbar, not the navbar. Open up the toolbar demo component here and just simply take one of these. Let's take a look how it looks in the app. So this is the default toolbar. Let's take that one. So we copy pasted the markup there. Let's throw it in here in our app.html. And we can see that they are using material icons. So I'm guessing they are loading that up in index.html. Yep, we got it right there. So let's add that to index.html. Let's remove Twitter Bootstrap for now. And load up the icons. But let's also add a new file here. We don't have a CSS for our app component. So let's just add an app.css and just copy paste the CSS that we got in the demo app. They're using something that compiles to CSS. We're not gonna do that. So we're just gonna repeat ourselves for now. That's okay. We just want to get this up and running. Let's get that padding, since we can't use inheritance in the same way. Like that. And now let's come to app. Now let's come to app.ts. And let's get rid of this view annotation. We won't be needing that. We can put this on the component annotation instead. And we're also gonna, let's see here, let's copy paste that so we don't get it wrong. We're gonna take the style URLs and pass in. And now we can simply remove the view annotation. And we're passing in the style URLs, which is simply just one path to a style, to the components annotation instead. All right, cool. So now we want to load up our MD toolbar component and pass it in as a directive to our app view. our app.html file. And we can see that they are doing the same thing here. They are loading the MD toolbar from the toolbar components and just passing it in as a directive, which makes it available to use in the view file. So let's just do the same thing, but we're gonna need to load it in a different manner instead. So we're gonna need to get it from anglet to material toolbar. And there we can find that toolbar component, which will simply pass in to our components annotation. If we save this up and switch to the browser and see how it looks, or if it even works. Maybe we've done some errors here. Let's hope not. Let's refresh this. Right, so we got it. So now we have a default toolbar, which is quite neat, but it doesn't do anything yet. But at least we've managed to load the toolbar component, which was pretty easy. Now let's put back the router outlet and try to load the cards component to see what that looks like. So in app.html here, let's come down here to a router outlet and put that back in. We can put this in a div. We can create a class for that later, like that. And now let's also in the same time load up the cards component and the input component and pass it to the to-do HTML view. So let's open up todo.ts. And in the same way that we loaded up the toolbar, let's load up the let's load up the input component along with the card component. So you can just copy paste 2 lines. MD card, MD input, card, input, and pass it in. Let's format this. Pass in MD card and MD input. And let's open up todo.html and try to use these. So I'm thinking that we can put basically the entire component inside an MD card. And before I know how to do that, I'm gonna need to check out what the documentation says. So let's open up the MD card component here and just take the markup and put it in here. And let's remove the title. We don't need that. We can just have MD content, or what was it called? MD card content. And just wrap everything in that. Let's save this up. So it looks like we weren't able to load something from the core component or the core package. So let's take a look if we actually have this node package here. So it tries to find something under anglet to material core annotations. So let's come here to our node modules, angler material, core, and it won't be able to find that because it doesn't follow the same convention as everything else. So we're gonna need to come to our index.html file and just remove one core here. Let's hope that fixes the problem. And we managed to load the application. Cool. So it doesn't really align correctly right now, but we can see here that we have loaded a component, the component called card as well. So that was pretty easy as well. So let's try to use the input field here, because I'm seeing that time is running away. We'll probably just manage to fit that in. And let's fix this checkbox here, because I can see it doesn't really look like this checkbox up here. And let's see how much time that takes. So if we come here to to-do.html once again, let's see here. We can see that we don't have the glyph icons anymore. So we're going to need to use the Angular material icons instead. So let's take a look in app.html, what we did for the toolbar. So there we defined, we need to know what the icon's name is, and we simply define the material icons class and then pass in which icon we want to use. So let's find the documentation webpage and see what icons are available for us. But before that, let's just try to remove that, put in a button in here, decorated with MD button, and we don't need the demo toolbar icon CSS. And when somebody clicks this button, we still want to just remove the actual to do. So let's see if this looks good. But before that, let's also use an MD checkbox here instead. So let's try to figure out how to listen for the checked event, the corresponding click event for this input type here. So let's switch over to the demo app and come on the checkbox. Let's see if it listens for an event anywhere. Okay, then change event there. Right, change. Cool. So we can do something like that. Listen for change. And let's put in this mark all as complete. So now we don't need the ID and the for attribute, because this will take care of that for us. And let's make sure that the event looks like we expect it to look. Let's take a look in to-do.ts and jump down to toggle all to do. We can see that we have expected to have a target and a checked property on the event. We switch back to our code and take a look in the TypeScript file here. And let's see here. We can see that they just expect a boolean there. So let's make that change here as well. This will simply be a boolean. I can do it like that. Completed. Simplify this a bit and just set it there. Right. Let's save this up and see if it works in the browser. Refreshing, so we can check it, uncheck it, add a couple of more to-dos. We can see the icon is totally wrong, but we can also mark everything as completed. So we are getting there. Let's try to replace this icon just to show you guys where you can find all the icons. Okay, so it took me a Google search or two, but then I found this site here, and it shows us how to install the icons and how to load them from the web, which we are doing. And once we've done that, we can find out what icons are available by following a link to this site. And the URL is in the browser up here. And now we can try to find a suitable icon. And let's take this one, delete forever. And we can see that we need to type IC delete forever. So this is an ice cream sandwich icon, I'm guessing, for Android. Let's see if we can load it up. To-do.html. Let's not use the menu there. Put delete forever in. and make sure that we can load it up in our app. And we can, so there's the icon. So we have a couple of CSS issues here. Let's not address that now, since this is taking a bit longer than I've expected. So switch over to the documentation again and check out the input component. So let's see where that one is. Right there. And we're just gonna put a placeholder that's as we already have. Let's see if there's anything special here. Doesn't seem so. Let's see how we bind. Do we have an ng model? Right, so we're binding to the ng model. So let's try to use this. Come over here and use an empty input instead. And right, so we're using forms here. We can remove this clause. Let's keep the placeholder. We can get rid of this clause, since that's a Bootstrap class. Has error and has success as well. We can still keep it in a div to separate it from the bottom. But now, let's see if we can make it required somehow as well. Right, so just put a required attribute. Cool. So let's do that. Save it up and switch over to the browser, refresh the page. And as simple as that, now we have an input field as well. And we can see that it's required by this little red asterisk there. And we can type in stuff. And we can mark them all as completed, and we can remove the to-do items. But what we don't have here is the links. We've lost them. I figured we can put them up here to the right or in a side nav. We can do that next time. So I'll probably create a branch for this, since it's not really finished yet, or I'll just commit it. Let's see what I do if I had the time to do it now. But as you can see here, I used a demo app that the team has provided for us to figure out how each component is working. So it's really great documentation. And you can see I simply integrated 3 more components here. We saw we can load the toolbar, and we're using the new input component along with MD cards. We can probably put the to-do items in the list component. If we take a look here in the demo app, we can see that there is a list demo here as well. So I can probably do that off screen, or I'll save it for the next screencast, where we can take a look at how to put the to-do items, the to-do list, into a list component and implement a side nav as well. Let's see here, side nav demo. So this looks pretty exciting. We can toggle the modes. Cool. We can open an end slider, right? Alright, so that's everything for this screencast. I hope that you guys have learned something and realized how to use the demo app to explore how the components work and use it for documentation. So until next time, have a great day, guys, and keep on coding. Bye.